Welcome back, and I'm in the kitchen. So a different view. Normally you see like a squat bar behind me because I always seem to be squatting. So today we're not squatting. I've already trained and I actually wanted to cover something completely different and something that I don't often touch on, and that is nutrition and diets and macros and calories and all of that good stuff. And one of the main reasons that I don't often chat about this in depth is because I feel like there are far more educated people like, Jeff Nippert, who go into detail with scientific explanations and that sort of thing, whereas I'm just kind of like protein, carbs, fat, like I stick to the basics and I talk in layman's terms, and I'm not going to go into like the scientific elements of each macro and all of that jazz, but I'm going to give you a very, and when I say very, basic breakdown of calories and how to work them out really. And so this is, if you know calories and you understand macros and all of that jazz, just skip, you don't need to watch this. If you're uncertain on anything and you just want to kind of reinforce your education and get a very, and I mean very, basic understanding, then continue watching, because this is directed at you. And for people who are just getting into their dieting journey, just starting to understand how to put things together and how to work out your diet, this is step number one. And this is if you are working on macros and trying to structure your diet accordingly and try to figure out how to make your diet work for you. So step number one is obviously calories. Calories are what you need to get through the day. I don't think everyone's always heard the terminology, you need to burn more calories than you consume in order to lose weight, and vice versa. So it's one of those like, your body needs calories, and calories is just a numerical term of describing energy that you get through food. Okay, so everything that you eat and most things that you drink contain energy, and that energy is expressed in units of calories. Okay, so whether you're having a banana or something like that, it has a certain amount of calories, and the average person in the world needs plus minus 2,000 calories. Okay, so that is very generic. You could be needing 1,500 calories as a female, you could be needing 3,500 calories as a male, and that may vary according to so many factors, from your energy levels, from how much muscle mass you have, to what you do in a day, how fast your metabolism is. There are so many factors to determine how many calories you need in a day, and that is something that you either go to someone and they help you figure it out, like a dietitian or a nutritionist or someone like me, and they will help you figure out exactly how many calories you need according to your goals and your current lifestyle, or you kind of take a ballpark figure and work from there. And if you're starting to lose weight, you're in a deficit. If you're putting on weight, you're in a surplus, etc. And of course there is intuitive eating, where you eat when you're hungry, but that doesn't often work these days when you're eating a lot of crap and it's a lot of empty calories. So I feel like I've gone on a tangent, but I feel like it's all really relevant. Okay, so you've got your overall calories, okay, so plus minus 2,000 calories. Now those calories that you need to get in are broken down into macros, okay, and that is protein, carbs, and fats. So almost everything that you eat has protein, carbs, and fats in it, or one of those macros, or two of those macros, or all three of those macros. Like peanut butter, for example, has protein, carbs, and fat in it, whereas meat often just tends to have fat and protein in it. Now the confusion lies when someone says, okay, so you've got to get in 200 grams of protein. Now the immediate assumption for someone who doesn't understand macros is they're going to take a slab of beef and weigh up 200 grams and that's going to give you 200 grams of protein. But that's not the case, okay? So the protein, and this is where people get confused, because people will say your protein consumption, and people refer to their meat as their protein, okay? Now meat's predominant macro is protein, okay? But 200 grams of beef does not translate to 200 grams of protein, and that's where people get really confused, okay? So I'm gonna kind of try to explain it to you, and as I say, I may not be explaining, I'm not a teacher. This is not my realm. This is just something that I do. So take it and use it, and hopefully you understand it. So good tip is, if you're trying to work out how much protein and fat and carbs in something is, obviously you've got to weigh it out. Step number one. So I've got my meatballs, okay? It's just meatballs, there's no other veg or ingredients, literally it's just meatballs in this container. So step number one trick is put another container which is exactly the same onto the scale before turning it on, okay? Let's see if you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you've got the scale, okay, and it's already measured the container, so it's not going to factor the container into it. Then we can measure the meatballs. Okay, so there's 180 grams worth of meatballs or beef, okay, in this container. 189 grams, let's just round it up to 190 grams. Now for all you Americans out there, that is 6.7 ounces. I don't know, pounds, 6.7 pounds, 0.67 pounds, okay? But I'm just going to work in grams because I understand grams. So it's 190 grams of beef, not to be confused with 190 grams of protein, okay? The meat has protein in it, and its predominant macro within that beef is protein. It also has fat in it, okay? Now what you need to do is, and this is where modern technology comes into play, is you can log it onto MyFitnessPal, and MyFitnessPal will calculate everything for you. But what you can also do is you can simply go to Google, okay, and type in how much protein is in 100 grams of beef, okay, and in cooked beef or raw beef, okay. Just remember that cooked and raw beef will have different equations, okay. Now in 100 grams of cooked 10% beef, you get 35 grams of protein, okay. So 190, let's just round it up to 200 grams because that's far easier for me to calculate, okay. So 100 grams of cooked beef mince, okay, has 35 grams of protein. So if the meatballs over there is 200 grams of cooked beef, you've got 70 grams of protein, okay? So that beef meal right there is 70 grams of protein. It is not 200 grams of protein, okay? That is the difference, and that's what you need to understand. The great thing is, as I said, you've got MyFitnessPal, you've got all these macro calculators where you can literally type in how much beef mince you've got, cooked weight, raw weight, etc., and it will tell you how much fat it is, how much fat it has, how much protein it has, and beef doesn't have carbs, so it won't give you a carb factor because obviously there is no carb factor in it. But that's what you need to do. And if you are calculating your macros and calculating your calories, you need to log everything. You need to weigh everything. You need to make sure that you are calculating every single thing that you eat or drink. And that's where people often go wrong, is they don't calculate all the fluids that they're intaking, because those are additional calories. Yes, you can have a black coffee with absolutely nothing in it, and that's obviously 0 calories. But the moment you add a tablespoon of sugar, or a tablespoon of whipped cream, or a tablespoon of milk, that is calories, and you need to log those calories. And that's where people often go wrong with macros and calories, is they actually not aware of exactly what they're eating. They may thumb suck the grammage, they may thumb suck how much they're putting in. They may go, oh, that's plus minus a tablespoon, especially when it's something that's caloric, really calorie dense, like mayonnaise, for example, or cheese or peanut butter. You have a tablespoon and it's a little bit of heat, and instead of 20 grams of peanut butter, suddenly you've got 35 grams of peanut butter, and that's a shitload more calories than just 20 grams of peanut butter. Okay, so to clarify, so you got your overall calories, 2,000 calories, for example, that you need to consume in a day, okay? And within those calories, you need to get your protein, your carbs, and your fat, okay? For example, you've got to get in 200 grams of protein, or 150 grams of protein. That is not 150 grams of cooked beef mince, okay? So this right here, even though it is 200 grams of beef mince, okay, is only 70 grams of protein. So you would have to have 2 of these, 70, 140, plus a little bit more to get in all the protein that you need for the day. And that's actually not a lot, like you could easily get in 6 meatballs, okay, and then suddenly you're at 140 grams of protein. So that is step number 1 when you are calculating your calories and your macros, okay? So calories is the overall energy that you need to consume within a day. That is broken down into your protein, your fiber, your carbs, and your fat, okay? Right, take a deep breath, pause, rewatch if you need to before we go into step number 2, okay?